this space will continue to garner flows, not just the ETF, but the individual names. I think we're in a world of war, maybe permanent war in the next couple of years. You will see NATO countries individually arming up like they haven't had to do in decades. And I think that's a big secular tailwind for the companies in this aerospace and defense ETF, unfortunately.
All right, let's turn to another macro story. Oil dipping below $100, dropping more than 8% today. Citi out with a new note saying oil could drop to $60 by the end of this year. That is if a recession unfolds. Back over to you, Josh. You're actually adding to your energy position?
Yeah, earnings growth is going to be better here than pretty much anywhere else, almost regardless of what happens to the price of crude, at least in the short term. This is yet another example of what I was talking about. It's hard to contextualize when you see a big sell-off in oil stocks, which has prompted me to want to add more. But when we see a big sell-off in oil stocks in the very, very short term, it's hard to remember, hey, this is still the winning sector. The big trend is higher. What you're seeing right now is counter trend. The fake trend, no offense to anyone, is ARK stocks going up. That's counter trend. That's not good. That has no legs. That's not going anywhere. It's great for people buying options that expire at the end of the week. But in reality, what's really going to happen is the big trends will continue to be the big trends until they violate some sort of longer-term moving average, which they have not yet done. So look at IEO. I asked for a 3-year chart. Let's see if they listen to me, or a 5-year chart. Look at IEO. Here we go. And look at that. We have the moving average too. Pickles on the side. Okay. Take a look at that support level. That is a rising 200-day moving average. That's been a pretty great place to be a buyer of this IEO pretty much the entire way up. I think they'll find support right there. Today's an ugly day, but stay tuned. More horrendous stuff coming out of Eastern Europe. We all know it. These are the types of stocks that will catch a bid. So this is the real trend, and profitless tech rallying is the fake trend. Focus on the real trend.
Brent, over to you. You have a lot of ownership when it comes to energy. You got Devon Energy, also the XOP ETF. What do you think? You agree with Josh? Are we talking fake trends versus real trends?
Well, so I think that actually energy and some of those high growth companies can actually both succeed depending on what rates do. But as it relates to energy, you know, I had sold my XLE position a few weeks ago. I think that what's important for investors, I would actually wait before adding to energy for a couple of weeks. You know, Biden's going to the Middle East, what I call hat in hand tour, where, you know, he's going to go ask the Saudis to increase production. I find it really hard to believe that he's going to go all the way over there and come back empty-handed, even if it's just rhetoric. But to Josh's point about a long-term, more structural trend, OPEC has missed its production targets for the last 2 months in a row, and Saudi has missed its production targets for like 210,000 barrels of oil per day. So I really don't think that Saudi can meaningfully increase production. And so I think after that meeting, which is July 13th to 16th, I think there could be some continued volatility. That's actually where I'll be looking to add to my energy positions. But I would wait till that if you haven't, because I do think there could be some downside volatility just from the rhetoric that comes out of that meeting.
Josh, you were getting a little animated while Brent was talking.
Yeah, well, I'm aware of the hat in hand tour, but I'm also aware of the fact that almost everything Biden and his economic advisors have to say about the energy sector, the energy problem, how to fix it, is embarrassing. There's really no leadership from the White House on this issue. They live in a fantasy land where you can go on Twitter and yell at gas station owners to lower the price, not understanding that gas station owners barely make money, which is why they sell gum and tobacco to get by. Like, this is not going to fix the problem. Opening up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve was laughable. So I'm not really worried about that being a headwind for the energy sector stocks. I think the market will ignore whatever comes out of those meetings, just like it's ignored everything else that this White House has had to say on the issue.
Josh, what do you think? That quote-unquote hat-in-hand tour going to do something for energy, or do you believe it's just down or set up for more downturns, especially with these recession concerns?
Yeah, I think it's going to do more for the GOP in the midterms. They'll get some sound bites. Maybe he'll fall off a bike. It's just I feel terrible because I know he wants to help the situation. When you look at low-income Americans now spending somewhere between 10 and 20% of their monthly pay on cooling their homes, heating their homes, or filling their tank, That is rough stuff. It's a terrible situation. I just realistically don't believe that somebody can wave a wand, either party, any politician, and fix the issue. Speaking the right way, though, about what's going on and what's causing it might
the fundamental supply challenge that you're going to face in the winter, I have no problem with that. But I don't think you need to go beyond it. And I think the risk that investors take is that they concentrate in one direction and they have portfolios where they have 20, 25, 30% exposure to energy. I completely disagree with that strategy. And last point I'll make to Josh's comments on hypergrowth. I said earlier in the show, I think that we're talking by the end of the day about the NASDAQ going green. I want growth at a reasonable price. I agree with Josh. Valuations have come down enough that you could look at NVIDIA, you could look at Microsoft and Apple and Alphabet. You don't have to accept the PE, the non-profitable risk that comes along with a lot of these hypergrowth stocks. There's an L that's placed next to those stocks, and I wouldn't be allocating on those fake trend or whatever he called it. I agree with that.
All right, as we're having this conversation, WTI down 8%, half a dollar below $100 a barrel. All right, let's get over to the headlines with Christina Partsinevelos. Hey, Christina.
Hello, Frank. In Highland Park, Illinois, police have begun a news conference right now. The 21-year-old man taken into custody last night is still being called a person of interest in the shooting deaths of 6 people during a 4th of July parade in the Chicago suburb. Police say he fired 70 rounds into the crowd and was dressed as a woman to facilitate his escape. They also say they believed he acted alone. A senior law enforcement official tells NBC News the man bought multiple weapons legally before the attack. Russia's parliament has taken its first step towards passing 2 laws that will require businesses in the country to provide goods and services to the military to support the country's continuing fight in Ukraine. The vote was unanimous. And a White House ceremony that concluded just minutes ago, President Biden said he's setting the record straight by upgrading the awards of 4 soldiers who performed what he called acts of incredible heroism while fighting in Vietnam. They are receiving the Medal of Honor, the country's highest recognition of battlefield bravery. One of the recipients is getting the award posthumously. Halftime Report returns right after this break.